You're watching E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to review this episode of Arrow, and I'm doing this video in particular in a podcast form simply because there's two other episodes I need to shortly discuss before we get into tonight's episode, and I want to try and condense it and keep it as short as possible. And first of all, let's start with 2 weeks ago, the resurrection of Thea. Okay, that was obviously a big deal. I remember the last episode we had left on, I was semi-shocked at Ra's al Ghul stabbing Thea through the torso, and you know, we all knew she wasn't going to die. And you know, it turns out from that point to now that her death really hasn't had an effect on her, other than I can't even say mentally. You know, she seems to be dealing with that experience rather well. So that's a little surprising. And it was a move that Ra's al Ghul pretty much forced Oliver's hand. You know, and that episode, they basically went with Merlyn and the team. They went to go and resurrect her in the Lazarus pits. She came out swinging, and eventually she was okay, but without, you know, consequence, because obviously at the end of that episode, the team left minus Oliver, who committed himself to the League. He was branded and in the position to be the next Ra's al Ghul. And then the following episode, we really saw a different Oliver, you know, and this is last week's episode, where he pretty much, knowing what we know now after tonight, but at that time, my initial reaction was very surprised. It made sense when they talked about the drug, especially the one that Thea was under because of Malcolm, but it still was hard to watch. You know, hard to watch him put Diggle's wife in that position, leave Diggle's child by herself, knowing that this was once Diggle's best man, his best friend. So, and that was a tough episode to watch. And now in this episode, we see how the team is coping with that. Now they're still doing their superhero stuff. Actually, I got to give a lot of credit to Laurel. I was criticizing Laurel earlier this year because her fighting skills weren't up to par, but she seems to have picked up a lot of good technique from Nyssa al Ghul. And I got to hand it to her. She looked sharp today. She looked really good. She was moving very fluently, dodging, counter-striking very well. It was just nice to see her finally coming to her own, and to top it off, the Canary Cry upgrade that she got from Cisco a couple of weeks ago. And we've seen her become a full-fledged hero now. We've seen her become the Black Canary, and it's nice to finally see that. And Diggle obviously still running around without a mask, but together they worked well. They worked well, and we're still seeing that the team is still suffering from where their beloved Oliver has gone in terms of what he's become, especially Felicity, who basically left Ray in the dust to be with Oliver. And Oliver obviously now is with Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul. They kind of change up his name every now and then. And this episode was interesting because once again, Malcolm had to step to the forefront to try and convince the team that Oliver has been playing Ra's all this time, which a lot of us kind of maybe thought that, but I gotta say, I was fairly convinced last week that he was under a spell. You know what I mean? And that something was going to have to break it. But be that as it may, he's been playing Ra's all this time. And now his hand has been forced because his plan was to become the next Ra's al Ghul and then go about things differently. But in order for him to ascend, he has to leave behind and destroy his former life, which includes Starling City and all the people he loved. And now his hand was forced to do something different. Here in comes, you know, Tatsu and Malcolm Merlyn, and obviously the team's not going to believe Malcolm. They had a hard time believing it. Tatsu obviously convinced them otherwise to an extent, and it was a good episode. It was, look, for me, the saddest moment obviously was Maceo fighting his ex-wife and them going back and forth. And, you know, even though she freed him, still, that's her husband. I mean, come on, you just killed a man you loved once, a man that you still love. I mean, she asked him, come back to me. And he said, there's no coming back. And he thought he had her dead to rights, and she flipped it on him and she killed him. And that was really sad to watch. That really was. Now knowing what we know as far as what happened with Akio back in China those years ago, we got to see that play out. Akio never had a chance at a cure that Oliver and Maceo went after in that flashback. And here, now we finally see that Oliver Queen is pretty much coming out and revealing more or less that he is playing Roz. And he's using Malcolm as leverage. Not using him. Malcolm obviously is in cahoots with him. And I have a feeling, too, that Malcolm shouting out Oliver is not necessarily Malcolm being Malcolm. I think that's part of the plan. Something just tells me that's part of the plan. It was nice to see Roy back on the show. I kind of thought he was going to fly in there and be another hero again, but it looks like he's passing the torch to Thea. And it looks like Thea might be playing a role towards the end of this season as well in terms of rescuing and helping her brother. And it would be poetic justice if she was to be the one to rescue her brother from the League. And then Roz and Oliver can finally have that showdown that we've all been waiting for this year. So, it's funny. This season hasn't been like season 2. And that doesn't mean it's bad. I think it's picked up a lot in the second half. And I also believe that it's delivering different elements this season than it was. Last year was very action-packed. It was crazy. Little twists and turns. This one, we seen Oliver in a position that must be the most difficult thing for him in the world, which is hurting the people he loves, being forced to do things that he's completely against. And I think that's a testament to how clever he is to even be fooling Ra's al Ghul the way he has been. But also, it just continues to expand on the character. Just when you think it couldn't get tougher for Oliver, just when you think he's reached the pinnacle of his crime-fighting career, here comes this man just basically tearing Oliver down to bare bones and trying to rebuild him in his image, and Oliver still has the bravery and the gall to go against that. And that's why I think that season 3 is very much the kind of season that you got to look beyond what you've seen before and take it for what it is, which is a story centered around Oliver going through a very difficult emotional and mental tribulation in terms of turning his back on his friends and family and joining someone who he despises. Someone who put a sword through his sister's chest. So I think it's been very cool the way it's been ending this year. I think at the end of the day, a lot of people are not going to like this season, but I think in the long run, it'll be appreciated. I'm one of those people who wasn't a big believer in season 3 up until the second half when things started progressing the way they have up to this point. And I'm looking forward to the conclusion. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think that, again, if you just look at this season from a different perspective in terms of the character Oliver Queen and consider what he's been through up to this point in the character's life and what he's going through now, it really says a lot about the character and his resolve and his convictions. And that's the thing I appreciate about season 3 so far. But anyway, guys, that's it for this review of tonight's episode, or as of this recording, tonight's episode of Arrow, as well as a short discussion on the last 2 episodes that I missed. I do apologize for that. As I mentioned during my flash review, I've just been really, really sick the last couple of weeks. I've been on some medication that's what's been fucking me up. But what did you think about the episode? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? And what are you most looking forward to? Looks like The Flash and the Arrow are going to have some crossover again. I'm most looking forward to that. And it's going to be a lot of fun the coming weeks on these 2 shows. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. Join the nation's Facebook page to meet other subscribers or visit E.T.N's Facebook page and Twitter page. Links for all are in the description.